Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Corey Ellis. I am 36 years old, a black man who grew up on the south side of Chicago in a family where marriage was treated like a sacred promise. My parents used to say that when you marry someone, you put them first. You do not halfway commit. You do not keep one foot in the past and one foot in the present. I believe that. I built my whole idea of love around it. I thought my wife, Tanisha, believed it too. It turned out she had a completely different definition of marriage, one she did not bother to explain until it was far too late. It started on a Thursday evening, one of those ordinary nights that quietly rearrange your life. I got home from work around 6, same as always. Our house was in a quiet neighborhood outside of Portland, Oregon, a place with tree-lined streets and kids riding bikes in circles. I made myself a sandwich, fed the cat, and turned on a basketball game, half watching while I answered a few work emails. Tanisha usually got home by 6:30. When 7 rolled around and she still was not there, I glanced at the clock but told myself not to worry. Traffic, I thought. Meetings. Something reasonable. She walked in around 8:15, later than usual, carrying the faint smell of perfume and restaurant food. Her whole energy felt lighter than it had in weeks. Her shoulders were relaxed, her eyes bright, lipstick perfect, even though the day should have worn it down. She set her purse on the counter, humming under her breath as she took off her heels. "You look happy," I said, muting the television. "Long day." She smiled, almost glowing. "Actually, it was a good day," Tanisha said. "I had dinner with Devin." I frowned. "Devin?" I asked. "Who is Devin?" She paused for just a fraction of a second, the kind of pause that makes your stomach tighten, then said lightly, "My ex-fiancé. You know, Jada's father." I felt my stomach drop, like an elevator cable had snapped. We had been married for 3 years, together for almost 5, and that was the first time she had mentioned having dinner with her ex-fiancé. "Your ex-fiancé," I repeated slowly. "You had dinner with your ex-fiancé tonight?" She rolled her eyes slightly, as if I were overreacting already. "Yes, Corey. You know I have a child with him." I sat up straighter on the couch. "Since when do you have dinners with your ex-fiancé?" "Oh, we've been doing this for a while," Tanisha said, waving her hand like she was brushing away dust. "It is about Jada. We need to coordinate things for her." That was the part that did not sit right. Jada, her 10-year-old daughter, lived with Devin full-time. Tanisha had agreed to that arrangement before we got married, saying it would be better for Jada's school and routine and would not interfere with our life together. She saw Jada every other weekend and some holidays. It was not what I would have chosen, but I had respected her decision and tried to support it. "Coordinate what exactly?" I asked. "She lives with him. You see her twice a month. There is not that much to coordinate." Tanisha's cheerful expression slipped. Her jaw tightened, and her eyes cooled. "You do not understand," she said. "Devin is part of my life. I have a child with him. These dinners are important for Jada's well-being." I tried to keep my voice calm, but my mind was racing. "How often are these dinners happening?" "Every couple of weeks," she said, then added quickly, "Sometimes more if we need to talk through stuff." Every couple of weeks. For a child she barely had custody of. "Why have you not mentioned this before?" I asked. She shrugged and turned toward the fridge, as if she were bored with the conversation. "I did not think it was a big deal. You were being weird about this." "Weird," I repeated slowly, standing up. "For wanting to know that my wife has regular dinner dates with her ex-fiancé, the man she almost married." She shut the refrigerator door harder than necessary. "It is not a date, Corey. Stop calling it that." "Tanisha," I said, trying to keep my voice low and steady, "do you not think this is something you should have discussed with me? Your husband." Her face hardened. "You cannot expect me to cancel dinners with my ex-fiancé," she said sharply. "He is part of my life. I have a child with him." The way she said it, so certain, so final, made my chest tighten. It was as if my feelings were a minor inconvenience she did not have time to entertain. "I'm not asking you to cancel anything," I said quietly. "I'm asking why my wife is having regular dinners with her ex, and why I'm only hearing about it now." "Because I knew you would react like this," she snapped. "You were being jealous and controlling." That night, after we moved to separate sides of the bed with a visible wall of silence between us, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Tanisha fell asleep quickly, her back turned to me, her breathing slow and even. I watched the shadows on the ceiling and thought about every conversation we had ever had about honesty, loyalty, and putting our marriage first. Apparently, those rules did not apply when it came to Devin. Over the next few days, I started paying attention in a way I had not before. I noticed how often Tanisha turned her phone face down on the table. I noticed that the passcode, which we had always shared, was suddenly changed. I noticed how she would smile at her messages and then tilt the phone away when I walked by. She started leaving the house with vague explanations. I have errands. I'm meeting a friend. I need to clear my head. The following Tuesday, she came into the living room adjusting her hair in the hallway mirror. She was wearing a fitted black dress I'd always liked, simple gold earrings, and a hint of floral perfume. Going out? I asked, already knowing the answer. Yes, she said. Before you start, it is another dinner. We need to talk about Jada's school schedule for next semester. I glanced at the clock. On a Tuesday night, she grabbed her purse. Schools send out plans early, Corey. You would know that if you were paying attention. She left at 6 in the evening. I tried to distract myself with television, then with emails, then with cleaning the kitchen. Every time I looked at the clock, more time had passed. 9, 10, 11. There are not that many subjects to discuss about a 10-year-old school schedule. She finally came home a little before midnight. I was sitting at the dining table pretending to look over some paperwork when she walked in. Tanisha stiffened slightly when she saw I was still awake. How was dinner? I asked. Fine, she said, dropping her keys in the bowl by the door. We covered everything we needed to. Everything about Jada's school schedule. I asked. That took 6 hours. She sighed and set her purse down. We talk about other things too. Devin has been having some issues at work, and I was just being supportive. Supportive, I repeated. You were being supportive of your ex-fiancé, the man you almost married. She folded her arms and looked at me like I was being unreasonable. He is Jada's father, Tanisha said. If something affects him, it affects her. I'm not going to sit there and act like I do not care. I held her gaze for a long moment and then nodded. Okay. Okay, what? She asked, defensive. Okay, I said again, forcing a small smile. I hear you. But inside, another piece slid into place. This was not about Jada. This was about Tanisha and Devin. That weekend, Tanisha said she was spending Saturday night at her friend Keisha's apartment in downtown Portland. Keisha and Tanisha had been friends for years, both black women who bonded in college over late-night study sessions and natural hair routines. They talked all the time, so a girls' night did not sound suspicious on the surface. Keisha and I are going to catch up, Tanisha said, tying her scarf over her hair as she moved through the bedroom. We will watch movies, maybe do face masks. It will just be easier to stay over instead of driving back late. Sounds good, I said. Have fun. Saturday evening was quiet. I ordered takeout from a soul food spot across town, watched a movie, and tried not to think about Devin. By the time I went to bed, I had almost convinced myself that maybe I was reading too much into things. Maybe these really were innocent co-parenting dinners, and my pride was getting in the way. Sunday morning, I woke up early and decided to surprise Tanisha and Keisha with coffee and pastries from their favorite cafe. It was one of those little black-owned spots that sold caramel lattes and sweet potato muffins. I thought maybe a kind gesture would ease some of the tension between us. I drove across town to Keisha's apartment building, a brick complex she had pointed out to me months earlier. The cool air smelled like rain, and I remember thinking how normal everything looked. I knocked on Keisha's door, balancing the drink tray in one hand. After a moment, the door opened. Keisha stood there in leggings and a big t-shirt, her hair tied up in a scarf, eyes puffy like she had just woken up. Hey, she said slowly. Corey, what is going on? I smiled, suddenly unsure. I brought coffee for you and Tanisha, I said, holding up the tray. I figured you might need it after your girls' night. Her expression shifted instantly from sleepy confusion to something sharper and more troubled. Girls' night, she asked. What girls' night? The words hit me like a punch. Tanisha said she stayed here last night. I said carefully. She told me you two were having a girls' night, and she was spending the night with you. Keisha's eyebrows knit together. Corey, I have not seen Tanisha in weeks, she said. She definitely was not here last night. I was home alone watching television. I stared at her, the coffee suddenly heavy in my hands. Are you sure? She nodded slowly. Absolutely. Is everything okay? I forced a tight smile. Yeah. Yeah. Everything is fine. Sorry to bother you so early. I walked back to my car in a daze. The coffee sat untouched in the cup holders as I drove home, my mind racing. If Tanisha had not been at Keisha's, where had she spent the night? There was only one place that made sense, one person she had been giving more and more of her time to. By the time I pulled into our driveway, my hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles hurt. When I walked into the house, Tanisha was already there. She was standing at the stove, flipping pancakes, looking relaxed and cheerful in one of my old college t-shirts. Hey, she said brightly. You are up early. How was girls' night? I asked, watching her closely. Great, she said without missing a beat. We stayed up way too late talking and watching movies. I am exhausted. What movies did you watch? I asked. She hesitated for half a second. Just some romantic comedies, Tanisha said. You know how Keisha loves those. I nodded slowly, feeling something cold settle in my chest. She was lying, straight to my face. Calmly, easily. I went to the sink and poured myself a glass of water, just to have something to do with my hands. Tanisha hummed while she cooked, acting like nothing was wrong. If I had not gone to Keisha's, I thought, I would have believed every word. That afternoon, Tanisha went upstairs to shower. While the water ran, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I glanced at it automatically, more from habit than suspicion. A message preview flashed across the screen. It was from Devin. Thank you for last night, the text read. Jada loved having breakfast with both of us this morning. My blood turned to ice. Both of us. Breakfast with both of us. Jada had seen them together that morning, like they were a family again. When Tanisha came downstairs in leggings and a tank top, towel draped over her shoulders, I was standing there holding her phone. My heart was pounding, but my voice came out steady. You want to tell me about last night? I asked. She froze. What do you mean? I turned the screen toward her. Devin texted you. I said. Thank you for last night. Jada loved having breakfast with both of us this morning. Tanisha snatched the phone from my hand so fast it almost fell. It is not what you think, she said. Then explain it to me, I said, feeling my jaw clench. Because what I think is that you lied about staying at Keisha's and actually spend the night at your ex-fiancé's house. She swallowed and looked away. I did go to Keisha's, Tanisha said, but her voice wavered. I just stopped by Devin's first to see Jada, and it got late, so I stayed in the guest room. You stayed in the guest room, I repeated, and you had breakfast together like a family in the morning. It was not like that, she insisted. Jada wanted pancakes, and I was just helping. I stared at her. Tanisha, you lied to me, I said. You told me you were having a girls' night with Keisha. You told me you were staying at Keisha's. I went to Keisha's this morning. She told me she has not seen you in weeks. Tanisha's face flushed. I knew you would overreact if I told you I was staying at Devin's, she said. I did not feel like dealing with your jealousy. My jealousy, I repeated. You think this is about jealousy. You do not see any problem with lying to your husband about spending the night at your ex-fiancé's house. Nothing happened, she said quickly. I slept in the guest room. We watched a movie with Jada. It got late, and she wanted me to stay. That is all. You are turning this into something that it is not. How late? I asked. What? How late did you and Devin stay up watching that movie? She shrugged. I do not know. Maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. It does not matter, Corey. It matters to me, I said. It matters a lot. What bothered me most was not just the lying. It was how comfortable she seemed with the whole arrangement. How natural it felt to her to slip back into that old life with Devin, to have family breakfasts and late-night talks in his living room, and then come home to me like I was the side story. She had not asked herself what that might feel like from my side. Or if she had decided my feelings were expendable. Do you hear yourself right now? I asked. You are making excuses for lying to me about spending the night with your ex-fiancé. You are blowing this out of proportion, Tanisha said, throwing her towel on a chair. We are co-parents. Sometimes these things happen. It is not that deep. Co-parents who have dinner together every couple of weeks and overnight stays, I said. It is not like that, she repeated, but even she sounded tired of the phrase. Her phone buzzed again. She reached for it quickly, shielding the screen with her hand. I saw just the first few words of the new message before she flipped it over. Cannot wait for next. What did that say? I asked. Nothing important, Tanisha said, holding the phone close. Show me, I said. No, she replied. This is my private conversation with my daughter's father. Private. My wife's conversations with her ex-fiancé were now private from her husband. That was when it hit me with brutal clarity. Tanisha was not just co-parenting with Devin. She was reconnecting with him, rebuilding something, testing old waters while keeping me around as a safety net. I realized that as long as I stayed, I would always be the one being asked to understand, to be mature, to be secure, to tolerate whatever she decided to do in the name of co-parenting. Monday morning, while Tanisha moved around the kitchen making coffee and checking her phone, acting like nothing had happened, I sat in my car in the driveway and made a phone call that would change everything. My supervisor, Lawrence Carter, had mentioned a transfer opportunity a month earlier. A promotion within the same company, still in the United States, but in a different city, still Portland, but at the downtown office in a bigger role. At the time, I had said no because Tanisha did not want to move any farther from Jada. I pulled up Lawrence's number and pressed call. Carter speaking, he said. Lawrence, it is Corey, I said. Hey man, he said. What is going on? That transfer opportunity to the downtown Portland office you mentioned, I said. Is it still available? He paused. Yes, it is still open, he replied. I thought you were not interested. I have reconsidered, I said. What is the timeline? They need someone within 2 weeks, he said. It is a promotion. Comes with about a 15% raise. But you told me Tanisha would not want to move across town. I stared at the steering wheel for a moment. Tanisha will not be coming with me, I said. There was a long silence. I see, Lawrence said quietly. If you are sure, I can make the call today. They will be happy to have you. I am sure, I said. Make the call. After I hung up, I sat there for a few minutes, watching Tanisha through the kitchen window. She was leaning against the counter, smiling at something on her phone. I did not need to guess who she was texting. The beauty of the decision was its simplicity. Tanisha wanted Devin to be part of her life. She kept saying it, as if it were some immutable law of nature. Fine. She could have exactly what she wanted. She could have dinners and late-night talks and family breakfasts. She could have all of that without having to step over my hurt feelings or justify anything to me. She could have that life. I would step aside. Over the next several days, I moved with quiet precision. Tanisha was so distracted by her renewed connection with Devin that she barely noticed the small changes happening around her. During my lunch breaks, I rented a storage unit on the edge of the city. The clerk, a middle-aged black man with kind eyes, helped me sign the paperwork without asking many questions. I carried in the first boxes myself. Personal documents, important papers, a few old photo albums, some shirts and shoes from the back of the closet. Wednesday evening, Tanisha announced that she had another dinner with Devin. She said it in a casual tone, like she was telling me she was stopping by the grocery store. School stuff again? I asked. Parent-teacher conference planning, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. I nodded. Have fun. She looked surprised. That is it, she asked. You do not have anything else to say? I smiled faintly. No, I hope it goes well. She hesitated, then grabbed her purse and left. As soon as the front door closed behind her, I went to the closet and packed 2 more boxes. Some books, my winter coats, and my old leather jacket that she had always said made me look too single. Thursday afternoon, the official job offer arrived via email. Higher salary, better benefits, a more senior title. Start date, 10 days from that day. I read the message twice, then clicked accept without hesitation. Later that night, Tanisha mentioned she might be late coming home. More planning. I asked. Devin is having some family issues, she said, looking down at her phone. I might stop by to talk. Take your time, I said. And I meant it. The more time she spent with him, the easier it became to detach. She came home after midnight again. I was in bed, lights off, breathing slow and even. She tiptoed into the bedroom, thinking I was asleep. I felt the mattress dip as she lay down beside me, her phone glowing briefly in the dark as she checked it one last time. I stared at the wall, counting the beats of my heart, until sleep finally pulled me under. By Saturday, I had moved a surprising amount of my life out of the house without Tanisha noticing. I had taken my golf clubs, half my suits, my collection of vinyl records, and most of the books from my oak bookshelf in the corner of the living room. The gap where the books used to be was obvious, But Tanisha was never looking in that direction. She was looking down at her phone, or at the front door as she got ready to leave, or into a future she assumed would have both me and Devin neatly lined up. Saturday morning, she was suddenly affectionate. She made breakfast, humming to herself, wearing one of my button-down shirts with leggings. "Want to do something fun today?" she asked. "Maybe go out to the riverfront, or try that new spot that does catfish and waffles." Actually, I needed to make another trip to the storage unit, but I did not say that. "I have a few errands to run," I said. "Maybe later this evening." "Okay," she said, kissing my cheek. "We will see." While she watched a show in the living room, I left with a duffel bag that I told her held some old basketball shoes I was donating. In reality, it held my laptop, some sentimental things from my desk, and a framed picture of my parents on their wedding day. I spent the afternoon signing a lease for a one-bedroom apartment downtown. It was small, modern, with clean white walls and big windows overlooking the city. When I walked through it, I felt something I had not felt in a long time: calm. By Monday, I had an address, a start date, and a plan. Tanisha, meanwhile, had another dinner with Devin on her schedule. "Let me guess," I said as she stood in the hallway putting on her earrings. "Devin needs support with something." She glared at me in the mirror. "Why are you being sarcastic?" "I'm not being sarcastic," I said. "I'm just acknowledging the pattern." "What pattern?" she demanded. "The pattern where you prioritize Devin's needs over our marriage," I said. "That is not fair," Tanisha said. "He's going through a tough time, and I am Jada's mother. Of course I care about what affects her father." I nodded, watching her carefully. "You are right," I said. "You should definitely go again." She stared at me like she could not tell if I was serious. "You are acting strange," she said. "Maybe I'm just accepting reality," I said. "Have a good night." She grabbed her purse and walked out without another word. While she was gone, I packed my computer equipment, the rest of my shoes, and the last of my important belongings. The house felt emptier, but not dramatically so. Tanisha's framed photos with Jada still lined the staircase. Her candles still sat on a coffee table. Our wedding picture was still on the wall. That was the part that made my chest ache. The life I had been trying to build was right there in the decor, but not in her actions. Tuesday, Lawrence called to confirm my start date and ask about housing. "All set," I told him. "I'll be at the downtown office Monday morning." "That is fast," he said. "You sure you're okay on the home front?" "Tanisha has other priorities right now," I said. "I need to move forward." He did not press. "We are excited to have you," he said. Wednesday evening, as Tanisha got ready yet again, she paused in the bedroom doorway and frowned. "Where are your golf clubs?" she asked. They were one of the first things I had moved to storage. I had not played in months, but she always teased me about them taking up space. "I lent them to Tyrone," I said, naming a coworker. "He wanted to try them out." "Oh," she said, shrugging. She turned back to her reflection and applied a little more lip gloss. "Another dinner?" I asked. "Devin is taking Jada to look at high schools for when she is older," Tanisha said. "He wants my input." "High schools for a 10-year-old, I said. "Planning ahead, I guess." She shot me a look. "Do you always have to comment?" "Just making conversation," I said. After she left, I went to the bank. I opened a new account and transferred half of the money from our joint savings into it. It was my income too, and I would need it for deposits, moving costs, and a cushion while I adjusted to the new role. I updated my address with my credit card companies and set up mail forwarding to my storage unit for the time being. I felt almost clinical about it, like I was closing out a project at work. By Thursday, the separation was nearly complete. I had quietly dismantled 3 years of shared life without a single argument about it, because she had not noticed enough to argue. Tanisha was still busy texting Devin, arranging dinners, and worrying about his family issues. She did not see the boxes that had slowly disappeared. She did not notice the empty hooks where my coats had hung. That night, she came home particularly late and particularly radiant. She glided into the house like she was walking on air. She put her purse down, checked her reflection in the hallway mirror, and smoothed her hair, humming under her breath. Then she stopped and frowned. "Where is the bookshelf?" she asked, staring at the empty corner where my oak bookshelf had once stood. "I moved it," I said from the couch, not looking up from my laptop. "Moved it where?" she asked. "Storage," I said. "I am decluttering." She walked into the kitchen. I heard cabinets opening and closing. A moment later, She came back. Half the dishes are missing, she said. And your coffee maker is gone. I packed the ones we do not use, I said. And the coffee maker. I will need it. For what? She asked slowly. I closed my laptop and looked at her. Now that she was actually paying attention, the changes were impossible to ignore. My diplomas were gone from the wall. My leather chair was missing from the corner. The side table where I kept my magazines had vanished. What is going on? Tanisha asked, her voice tight. I studied her for a moment. How was dinner with Devin? I asked. It was fine, she said. We discussed Jada's summer plans at that Italian place near the river. The same Italian place where he proposed to you? I asked. Her face went pale. I never said that, she whispered. Actually, you did, I said calmly. Last night, you said you were going to the spot where Devin proposed. Then you caught yourself and changed it to the place we used to go when Jada was little. Tanisha sat down heavily on the couch, her eyes scanning the room again. You are keeping track of everything I say now? She asked. I am paying attention to my wife's lies, I said. There's a difference. I have not lied about anything, she protested. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo I had taken of Devin's text. This is from last Sunday, I said. Thank you for last night. Jada loved having breakfast with both of us this morning. You told me you stayed at Keisha's. Tanisha stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing like she wanted to argue, but could not find the words. I called Keisha, I said. She confirmed you were not there. So, where did you spend Saturday night, Tanisha? I told you, she insisted weakly. I went to see Jada and it got late, so I stayed in the guest room at Devin's. And you had breakfast together like a family in the morning, I said. Jada wanted breakfast, she said. I was just trying to be a good mother. And then you went to your old romantic dinner spot to discuss summer plans, I said. It was not romantic, she said quickly. It was convenient. It is close to Jada's school. You are twisting everything. I walked to the window and looked out at the dark street. Tanisha, do you think I am stupid? I asked quietly. What, she said. Do you genuinely think I am too stupid to see what is happening here? Nothing is happening, she snapped. You are being paranoid. Am I? I turned to face her. You are having regular dinners with your ex-fiancé. You are spending nights at his house. You're going to places that have romantic significance for the two of you. You are lying to me about all of it, and I am supposed to believe nothing is happening. You overreact to everything, Tanisha said, standing up. That is why I did not tell you in the first place. I overreact to my wife sleeping at her ex-fiancé's house, I said. That is what you're calling overreacting. Nothing happened, she repeated. I slept in the guest room. That is not the point, I said. The point is that you chose to spend the night with him instead of coming home to me. The point is that you lied about it. The point is that you are prioritizing your relationship with Devin over your marriage to me. Tanisha's voice rose. Devin is Jada's father, she said. He will always be part of my life. And apparently, I said, I will not. She froze. What does that mean? It means you have made your choice, I said. You want Devin to be part of your life. You want to have dinners with him and spend nights at his house and go to your old romantic spots. You could do all of that. You are being ridiculous, Tanisha said, tears starting to fill her eyes. You are right, I said. I am being ridiculous. I have been ridiculous for tolerating this. I have been ridiculous for accepting your lies and pretending that this situation is normal. Her expression shifted from anger to worry. What are you saying, Corey? She whispered. I am saying you do not need to cancel your dinners with Devin anymore, I said. You do not need to lie about where you were spending the night. You do not need to make excuses for prioritizing him over me. Why not? She asked, her voice shaking. Because I will not be here to care, I said. The words hung between us, heavy and final. You will not be here. Tanisha asked. What are you talking about? I'm moving out, I said. I accepted a job transfer to the downtown office this week. Her eyes widened. You cannot just move, she said. When? Monday, I said. This Monday. 4 days from now. Her mouth fell open. You are serious. Completely, I said. She sank back onto the couch. What about us? She asked. What about our marriage? What about it? I asked. You have spent the last month rebuilding your relationship with Devin. You have lied to me repeatedly. You have chosen him over me again and again. What is left of us exactly? I never said I wanted to end our marriage, Tanisha said. You did not have to say it, I replied. You showed it. Tanisha was quiet for a long time, tears sliding down her face. "We can work this out," she said finally. "I can stop seeing Devin so much." "Can you?" I asked. "Last week you told me I could not expect you to cancel dinners with him. You said he is part of your life, and you have a child with him. You were very clear." "I did not mean it like that," she said. "How did you mean it?" I asked. She did not answer. "You want to know the truth?" I said. "The truth is that you never got over Devin. You married me because it was convenient and safe. It looked good on paper, but your heart never left him. And now that you have an excuse to be around him again, you are taking it." "That is not true," Tanisha said quickly. "I married you because I love you. Then why are you fighting so hard to keep seeing him?" I asked. She opened her mouth, then closed it. No answer. "I am not going to compete with your ex-fiancé for my own wife's attention," I said. "I am not going to sit here and watch you rebuild your previous relationship while pretending to be married to me. And I am not going to accept being lied to in my own home." She started to cry harder. "Please do not do this," she said. "We can fix it. I will change." "You should not have to change," I said. "If you were happy in this marriage, if you truly wanted to be here with me, you would not be spending your nights at Devin's house and your days lying about it." That night, she cried herself to sleep. She alternated between begging me to stay and insisting I was overreacting. I lay on my side of the bed, staring at the dark ceiling, feeling strangely calm. The shock had burned off. The anger had cooled. All that was left was a clear understanding. I could not live this way. Saturday morning, I woke up early and finished packing my remaining clothes while Tanisha slept. By noon, I had loaded my car with the last of my belongings. The trunk was full. The back seat was stacked with boxes and a small suitcase. It did not look like much for 3 years of marriage. Tanisha sat at the kitchen table, eyes red, watching me carry box after box into the garage. "This is insane," she said. "You are throwing away 3 years of marriage." "I'm not throwing anything away," I said. "You already did that." "One mistake does not mean we should get divorced," she said. I stopped and looked at her. "One mistake?" I asked. "This was not one mistake, Tanisha. This was weeks of lies. Multiple nights spent with your ex. A complete disregard for our marriage. That is not a mistake. That is a series of choices." She put her face in her hands and sobbed. I stood there for a moment, feeling oddly detached, then turned and carried the final box to the car. When I pulled out of the driveway, she stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, watching me go. For a brief second, I almost stopped. Then I thought about Devin's text, the Italian restaurant, the way she had called me jealous and controlling for wanting transparency. I kept driving. Sunday, I settled into my new apartment downtown. The building was mostly young professionals, a mix of people, including a lot of other black folks who were chasing careers and paying too much for parking. I unpacked my clothes, set up my coffee maker, and leaned my parents' wedding photo against the wall on the kitchen counter. The place felt quiet, but did not feel lonely. It felt like mine. Monday morning, I started my new job. The work was fast-paced and demanding, but in a way that made me feel alive again. My new team welcomed me warmly. In the break room, one of my colleagues, Aisha, a black woman with box braids and a quick smile, introduced herself and showed me where they kept the good coffee. For the first time in months, my mind was not occupied with wondering where Tanisha was or who she was with. Around lunchtime, I opened my social media and changed my relationship status from married to single. No dramatic post, no explanation, just that one silent update. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with messages from friends and family. "What happened? Are you okay? Is this a mistake?" I answered a few with brief, honest replies. We separated. It was not working. I will be okay. Then I silenced the rest. Tuesday evening, I was cooking dinner in my new kitchen, listening to some old R&B playlists, when my phone rang. Tanisha's name lit up the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She called again, and again. On the fourth call, I answered. "Why are you not home?" she demanded immediately, her voice shaky and panicked. I almost laughed at the word. "Home?" I asked. "Yes, home," she said. "Where are you?" "I am at home," I said. "No, you are not," she insisted. "I am here, and you're not here. Where are you, Corey?" I walked over to the window and took a picture of the downtown Portland skyline, glowing in the evening light. Then I set my keys on the counter and took a picture of them too. "Check your messages," I said. I heard her phone ding through the speaker. There was a long silence. Where is this? Tanisha whispered. Portland, I said. My new place. You actually left, she said, sounding stunned. I told you I was leaving, I said. You did not believe me. I thought you were just trying to scare me, she said. To make me stop seeing Devin. Why would I try to scare you? I asked. What would be the point? To make me choose you, she said. To make me stop. Tanisha, I said, I do not care if you see Devin. See him every day if you want. Stay at his house every night. Marry him again for all I care. I do not want to marry Devin, she said. I want you. Then do not marry him, I said. But do not call me asking why I'm not home when you made it very clear I was not a priority there. You are welcome here, she said desperately. This is your home. No, I said quietly. Home is where your spouse tells you the truth. Home is where your spouse prioritizes your marriage. Home is not where your spouse sneaks around with her ex-fiancé. She started crying. Please come back, she said. I ended things with Devin. I told him we cannot have dinners anymore. When? I asked. Today, she said. This afternoon, when I realized you were actually gone. So, you only ended it when you realized there were consequences, I said. I ended it because I realized I was wrong, she said. You ended it because you got caught, I replied. That is not true, she said weakly. Tanisha, I said, if I had not discovered your lies, if I had not confronted you, if I had not moved out, would you have stopped seeing Devin? She was silent. Would you have told me the truth about where you spend the night? I asked. More silence. Would you have stopped going to your old romantic restaurant? They were not romantic dinners, she said quickly. You went to the place where he proposed to you, I said. That was a coincidence, she said. I laughed, not kindly. A coincidence, I said. Right. Please come home, she said. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. I will never see Devin again. I will change my number. I will move downtown with you if you want. I will do anything. You will never see the father of your daughter again. I asked. That sounds realistic. I will only see him for Jada, she said. Just drop-offs and school events. That is it. Like you were only seeing him for Jada before? I asked. That was what you said then. This is different, she said. Now I know I could lose you. You already lost me, Tanisha, I said. You lost me the night you chose to sleep at Devin's house instead of coming home to your husband. You lost me when you lied about it. You lost me when you prioritized your relationship with him over your marriage to me. People make mistakes, she said softly. You are supposed to forgive the person you love. This was not a mistake, I said. This was a series of deliberate decisions. You chose to have dinner with him. You chose to stay at his house. You chose to lie to me about it. You chose to keep doing it. Those were not accidents. They were choices. My new apartment felt peaceful, the quiet humming around me like a shield. I am happy here, Tanisha, I said. Happier than I have been in months. I have a good job, a nice place, and most importantly, I do not have to wonder what my spouse is lying about today. You cannot just throw away 3 years, she whispered. I did not throw away anything, I said. I saved what was left of my self-respect. I love you, she said. No, I said gently. You love the security I provided while you figured out your feelings for Devin. But you do not love me enough to be honest with me. You do not love me enough to put our marriage first. That is not true, she insisted. Then why did it take me leaving for you to end things with him? I asked. She did not answer. Goodbye, Tanisha, I said. Enjoy your dinners. I hung up and turned my phone off. I leaned against the counter, took a deep breath, and felt something loosen in my chest. Outside my window, downtown Portland glowed. Cars moved along the streets like slow streams of light. Somewhere, music drifted up faintly from a passing car. I thought about the life I had imagined with Tanisha. More kids, Sunday dinners, vacations, anniversaries. That life was gone. In its place was something simpler but more honest. A starting point. 3 weeks passed. I settled into a routine. I went to work, hit the gym in the evenings, sometimes played pickup basketball with some guys from the office. I talked to my parents on the phone more often. My mother, a black woman who had been married to my father for 40 years, did not say, "I told you so." She just said, "I'm glad you chose yourself, baby." That is important too. My father said, "Be careful, be patient, and do not go back to something that broke you." One Tuesday morning, security at my office called my desk. "There is a Tanisha Ellis here to see you," the guard said. "She says she is your wife." For a moment, my chest tightened, but the feeling passed quickly. "Send her up," I said. A few minutes later, Tanisha walked into my office. She looked completely different from the woman who used to glide in from dinners, glowing with excitement. Her hair was pulled back messily. She wore sweatpants and an oversized hoodie instead of her usual fitted dresses. Dark circles sat on her eyes. She looked like she had not slept well in days. "We need to talk," she said, closing the door behind her. "No, we do not," I said, leaning back in my chair. She sat down in the chair across from my desk, clutching a crumpled tissue. "I made a huge mistake," she said. "Devin and it is over. It was never real. I was just confused and nostalgic and stupid." "Okay," I said. She stared at me. "Okay." "Yes," I said. "That is all I have." "I want you to come home," Tanisha said. "I want us to fix this." "There is nothing to fix," I said. "You made your choice." "I chose wrong," she said quickly. "You chose honestly," I replied. "For the first time in our marriage, you did what you actually wanted to do." "What I wanted was you," she said. "No," I said softly. "What you wanted was both of us. And when you could not have both, you chose him." Tears filled her eyes again. "That is not true," she insisted. "I thought I could keep everything balanced. I thought you would understand that Devin would always be around because of Jada." "I understood that," I said. "I never expected him to vanish. I expected you to set boundaries. Instead, you blurred them until there was nothing left between co-parenting and dating except a lie." "Can you just forgive me?" she asked. "Please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I am ready to do whatever it takes now. Counseling, church, anything. I will sign anything. I will agree to any rules you want." "I do not need you to sign anything," I said. "I do not need rules or conditions. I already have what I want. A life where I do not have to compete for my own wife's attention. A life where I am not an option." "You matter to me," she said desperately. "You always have." "No," I said. "I am convenient. I am safe. I was the backup plan when your exciting option did not work out." "That is not fair," Tanisha said, wiping her cheeks. "Life is not fair," I said. "But it can be honest. Honestly, I am happier without you." She looked stunned, like the idea had never occurred to her. In her mind, I realized I would always be waiting, always be there, always be willing to rebuild what she had taken apart. She had underestimated how final a decision can feel when you make it for your own sanity. "What happened with Devin?" I asked. "Why is it suddenly over?" She hesitated, then said quietly, "He said he was not ready for a serious relationship again. He liked the dinners and the time together, but he did not want to commit to anything." I nodded slowly. "So he got what he wanted from you," I said. Attention, companionship, the feeling of having his ex-fiancée back in his life. And then he stepped back when it was time to be serious. "It was not like that," she protested weakly. "It was exactly like that," I said. "He enjoyed the benefits without the responsibility. And you gave it to him because you were too busy chasing nostalgia to see what you were risking in the present." She sobbed. "I ruined everything," Tanisha said. "I threw away a man who actually loved me, who showed up, who tried. I did not know what I was thinking." "You were thinking about what felt familiar," I said. "Not about what was healthy, not about what was fair." She stood and walked closer to my desk. "Please," she said, "I will sign a post-nuptial agreement. I will go to therapy by myself and with you. I will move downtown. I will never talk to Devin again except when it is absolutely required for Jada. I will prove it to you. Just give me another chance. I do not want anything from you," I said. "Not your agreements, not your apologies, not your promises. I want exactly what I have right now. A clean break, a clear mind, and a future that does not involve wondering who you are texting." "So that is it?" she asked. "You're just done?" "I'm not giving up," I said. "I'm moving on. There is a difference. Giving up would mean I still wanted this, but did not know how to fight for it. Moving on means I recognize that this was never what I thought it was, and I'm choosing not to stay in something that hurts me." She wiped her face and looked around my office, as if searching for something to hold on to. "Security is going to escort you out," I said gently. "Not because I hate you, because I need a boundary. I need you to accept that this part of my life does not include you anymore." She stared at me for another long moment. "I will always love you," she said. I nodded. "Maybe you will," I said. But love without respect, without honesty, without loyalty is not enough. Not for me. She turned and left, shoulders shaking as she walked down the hall. I watched from my office window as she crossed the parking lot, climbed in her car, and drove away. There was no triumphant feeling, no bitterness, just a quiet, settled certainty that I had chosen the only path that made sense for me. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Aisha from the analytics team. "Coffee after work?" she wrote. "There's a place downtown I want to show you." I looked at the message for a moment, then smiled and typed back, "Sounds good." Some stories do not end with reconciliation or grand gestures. Some end with a clear line drawn, with one person choosing themselves after being treated like a second option. Tanisha wanted Devin to be part of her life, and she got what she thought she wanted, just not in the way she imagined. I wanted a partner who chose me first, who chose me consistently, without needing to be forced to do it. Eventually, I would find that. Until then, I had my own peace, my own space, my own life. And that, finally, was enough. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.